Day 3. In Genesis, God says again that when God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human. How cool is that we are created in the image of God? It's just so neat. So then we go into the genealogies of Adam to Noah. And it's so fascinating that it lists all the genealogies, but there's one man that God picked out in between Adam and Noah, and that was Enoch. And it said Enoch lived in close fellowship with God. For over 300 years, he served the Lord. And he was so faithful and so holy that he didn't even die. It says then one day he disappeared because God had taken him up. Now that's pretty amazing to live such a holy life that you are literally just taken up. And several people in the Bible were like that, Elisha being another one, which we will get to in the future. But the other people, they were called sons of God, but they were not the true faithful God. They worshiped the evil things of this earth. And they lived very long lives. God was so disappointed in them that it literally said God wished he had never created humans. They were all so evil. And God even shortened their lives because what he said was they would see beautiful women in their long lives and take any woman they wanted as their wives. Well, let me tell you one thing right now. Polygamy does not work. I'm not sharing a man with anybody. That is for sure. Show me a woman that willfully and peacefully wants to share their man with other women. It doesn't work. God even shortened their lives because they just kept taking more and more, it says, beautiful women and whoever they wanted as their wives. So therefore, because of that, God shortened their days, and he said, you will now live to 120. And during that time, Noah, through the genealogies, was the one man who lived faithfully. It doesn't even say the family. His sons or his wife even lived faithfully. He said there was one man on this earth that lived his life right, and that's why God called him to build the ark, because God was going to flood and get rid of the entire human race and have to start over. That's pretty evil. And it says that before the ark, it never even rained. So when he was building the ark, the people had to have thought he was crazy because the dew from the ground would moisturize the ground, but they had never seen rainfall, and yet he's building this boat. They had to have thought he was out of his mind. But you know what? When you follow God, people may mock you and laugh at you, but look who won in the end. And the ark that he built, God gave him specific instructions. It was 450 feet long. That is 1.5 times a football field. It was 75 feet wide and 45 feet high, so 4 stories high, to get 2 kinds of every animal into the ark. And it says that Noah followed exactly the instructions of the Lord. That's the way we want to live our lives, following exactly God's instructions for our lives. So day 3 in Matthew continues talking about John the Baptist as he was baptizing with water before Jesus came, and then he baptized Jesus. And he didn't want to, because he said, God, I'm not even worthy of baptizing you. But when Jesus was baptized, it says when he came out of the water, the Holy Spirit descended on him like a dove, and literally the voice of God came out of heaven, which says, this is my dearly beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Now, how cool is that for God to say he's well pleased with us? But then, of course, after that, Jesus' ministry started. So Jesus fasted for 40 days after he was baptized. And his ministry really was established then. But you can imagine, after 40 days of not eating, he must have been famished. It said he hungered, but I can't imagine how famished I would be after 40 days. So what does the devil do? He comes at our weakest moments, and he tempts us with the very thing that we are craving. So he tempts Jesus first to turn the stones into bread. And Jesus says, man cannot live on bread alone. So you have to think, the devil's not the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed. If he thinks he can tempt the Messiah of the world for a loaf of bread, then he takes him to the top of the temple and he says, if you will worship me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world. Well, Jesus is going, well, you're the dumbest person in the world because I created all of this and I have the power and authority. You just have a very short lease on this life. Then he actually takes him to the very highest peak and says, throw yourself down and the angels will save you. And Jesus says, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And then the devil went away. But I got to tell you, the devil is able to tempt us because we are mere humans. But it just shows you, we give the devil way too much power. If he actually believes that he could tempt the Messiah and the creator of the world. And that's how I feel about that. Day 3, Psalm. And I love this because every single one of us in this world feel like sometimes we are surrounded by enemies. It says, I have so many enemies around me, but you, O Lord, are a shield around me. You are my glory. I cry out to you and you answer me. And that is us. When we think the world is falling apart around us, we cry out to God and he comes to our rescue. And the Proverbs for today is it says, my child, if sinners entice you, turn your back. And it goes on to say, they will say to you, come with us. We'll go loot properties. We'll go loot houses. We'll steal. We'll rob. Come with us. And God specifically says, stay away from them because they have agreed for money. And that is going to be their very downfall in life. So what we want to do is turn to God and ask him to show us the right way for us to go and even what job to take, what career we're supposed to go into. And he wants to bless us in that way instead of being with sinners who just want to take everything for nothing. So God says, stay away. So let's stay away.